Could you use a quick tip daily? How about a tip that can impact your day? My name is Rafael. Join me as I bring you tips by experts around the world. These experts have shared their knowledge and wisdom with me and will directly share them with you. Make sure to subscribe, like, follow, and comment, and I would love for you to become part of the New Tip Daily community. Good morning, Melissa. Thank you so much for being on New Tip Daily. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, listen, you're going to talk about the blueprint of relationships, right? And for high achievers, it's not just. I guess if you're a low achiever, we need to make you a high achiever, right?
Exactly. And it's more to the point about people who are growth minded. The way I
Mm,
always describe high achievers are they're looking for that next edge. They're looking for that 1% improvement. How can I just be a little bit better in the things that I do? And that's
mm.
why I love to work with high achievers and share tips that can really help them have that little extra edge in their relationships.
Nice, nice. So you do have some tips for us today, and I love that because I love tips. And anybody out there, I mean, there are so many great tips that have helped and shaped people's lives. So I'm ready. I got my pen and paper. You think I'm kidding, people? Take a look. Pen and paper, ready to write some tips that Melissa's going to share with us. Go ahead, young lady.
I so appreciate being on the show. And to really preface this, there's two tips I'm going to share with you today. First is for those of you who are in relationships presently, especially if you are self described as a high achiever. There's an acronym that I want to share with you that I always share with my clients, which is PLAN.
Mm,
PLAN. P stands for pinpoint the season. One of the things that I think is particularly unique for high performers is that they tend to operate in seasons. And if you are, especially are an entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. There's seasons of high stress, you have a big deadline, there's seasons of transition, there's seasons of rest. And when you can define what season not only you are in, but your partner is in as well and communicate about it, you can better support each other. So,
mm.
really, that begins with defining and pinpointing the season.
I
L
like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And L stands for listen without assuming. Ask each other, what does support look like for you this week? Really listen to their answer and pay attention to what is the small thing that could really move the needle for them to feel supported, loved, seen during this particular season. And then offer up what that would be for you as well.
Mm, love
And
it.
then A really stands for acting in alignment. Don't just talk about the needs, act on them. And the way that you do this is to utilize that calendar that I know you all have. I don't know, Raphael, if that's one for you too. You live and die by your calendar, I'm sure.
Yes, I do. I do.
And how often do we actually use that calendar for relationship actions? And I
I
think that
do.
you
I do.
do. I love
Yes,
it.
I do.
I
I
think that's
do.
more rare than
Mm,
common in what I've found. And
mm.
so calendaring in time to take that action that your partner has told you would really make them feel loved and supported. And then N really stands for normalizing the check in.
Mhm.
So systems don't kill intimacy, they protect it. And I know in my marriage, we have a calendar check in once a week, Saturday morning. How did we do this week? It's not a report card, but it is a way to check in and see, are the ways that we are showing up for each other enough and right for this season?
Mm, love it, love it. I gotta be so honest with you. In my calendar it says uh, time to spend with my fiance, right?
Wow.
And the thing is that sometimes she'll say, "Show me your calendar," because I want to put some time in there for for us
I
to do.
love it.
So we are because I am so crazy busy
Mhm.
that no one can touch that time that I put for me and her, right?
Beautiful.
Because relationships or family, I think that a lot of leaders leave out of their calendars, and it's not good. So I'm so happy that you brought that.
It means the world. And I'm so thrilled to hear it in action
Mhm,
because
mhm.
If you show someone your calendar, you'll show them your priorities. And if you really want to make your relationship that priority, it has to be there. It has to be that sacred time that is set aside no matter what. And again, that can ebb and flow depending on the season that you're in. Some seasons you might be traveling, I'm sure, for a week or two, and maybe that's simply a phone call or a FaceTime or a video call. But that time is so precious, and that is the only thing we ultimately have to give the other person.
Mhm. Without a doubt, absolutely. Sometimes even when I am traveling and I am going to be out, maybe at an event, and it's, the time that we usually would be spending
Yeah.
together. I text her, she texts me, and she goes, "Miss you," kinda deal. So we still know that that time was ours, but now because we're apart, we still remember each other during those
Exactly. And I think that's so much the value of this in action is really being intentional with the time and asking the
times.
right questions. Something that I also love to share with people, a great question to ask your spouse, your partner, the person you're dating, even your friends that you really deeply care about each day. A simple question to begin the day, especially if you live with the person, is what is one thing I can do to support you today?
Mm.
And even if their answer is nothing, just by virtue of asking that question, you show your intention. You show that you care. And it's that caring question that I think really moves the needle for a lot of people because we expect a lot of mind reading of especially if you've been together for a while thinking that the other person should know what you need in a particular season, but that's just simply not the case.
Yeah. I love that aspect. Sometimes I will be going, every day when I'm heading home, I will text, "Need anything?"
Love that.
But the other thing is that if we're going to somebody's house, because maybe we're going to a barbecue or whatever, and I go, "What do they want us to bring?" They told us to bring nothing. I said, "Well, I wanna text them and see if there's something maybe they're missing," because last minute things, things happen. 2 more people showed up or whatever. Maybe they need ice, maybe they need, um, whatever, drinks, whatever it is. So I always make sure to, even on the way, can we get anything on the way? So I think it's about the intentions that we live our life with, right? And that's relationships. It doesn't have to be, romantic relationships, right? Just like we're talking about, it could be anyone. It could be a friend. It could be even your neighbors. Sometimes you take out the garbage for them.
Exactly. And those unexpected acts of service go a
Mm,
long way, even if that isn't someone's primary love language. And, there's many different love languages, everything from acts of service to physical touch to words of appreciation, but it's all about taking the initiative for people. One of my
mm,
other favorite tips is what I like to call the handle it habit, where
ooh,
you intentionally handle something without being asked that you know your partner dreads doing. So for me, that one is taking the dishes out of the sink and putting them into the dishwasher. Very simple, but when my husband handles that for me, the impact that that makes is huge. And in working on a book specifically about relationships for high performers, I interviewed a lot of couples whose love has stood the test of time. One
mm,
particular couple that's been married, I believe, for close to 40 years. She says that her husband's handle it habit is to always make sure that the water in the coffee maker is full. For some reason, she absolutely dreads pulling it out and filling it up. Very small, but moves the needle for her. And that's one of the ways she feels really loved. And so if you
mm.
can start to observe what is something that you notice your partner drags their feet on handling and just do it for them one week, I can't tell you the difference that's going to make.
Oh, yeah. Huge. My sister and brother-in-law are married 50 somewhat years,
Beautiful.
and they, I gotta be honest, sometimes I'm like, "Please get a room."
Because they're so loving.
They're so in love, like, they sit like, if they're at somebody's houses, she's almost sitting on his lap the whole time, and I'm like, "Okay, guys, get a room," kinda deal, and they're so lovey-dovey that sometimes it's like, too much, but it's so unique, to watch them, And I've also, because when I was young, I lived with them. They do argue, but
Mhm.
they come back and they're
Exactly.
like, I'm sorry, this, that, the other, but they don't let anything go to the side and like for hours on end when I wasn't happy with what you did, and just move on from there, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. And coming back to your point of them still being essentially in that honeymoon phase
Oh my goodness.
indefinitely, it's really created through 3 hormones. And one of my favorite things to research about relationships and that I've dove really deep into is the biology of it. And so when you are in that, what we like to think that new first date chemistry feeling, that spark, it's really 3 hormones at play. The first is dopamine, which is the reward hormone. That typically goes away the longer you're with someone,
Mhm.
unless you are actively having new novel experiences or playful competition, because that's how you experience that feeling of dopamine. The second is serotonin, which is the feel good hormone. And you get this through shared physical activity. Simply going for a walk with your partner will activate this, or
Mhm.
being in sunlight. And then oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, and that is typically created through physical touch, shared little moments of touch. But you can also create that even early in dating through holding eye contact just a few seconds longer in moments of shared joy.
Mm.
And so it's not, chemistry is this thing that we think you either have or you don't, and you lose it over time the longer you've been together. But if you are intentionally having novel experiences, playful competitions, moving together, and shared moments of touch or eye contact in those vulnerable moments, that's how you keep that spark alive indefinitely. And I'm a firm believer that the honeymoon phase does not have to end.
Right. No, it should never end. I
Absolutely
agree.
not. You never stop dating your partner.
Yeah. It's so incredible because, and you were talking about doing little things. I'm an early morning person.
I believe
Sometimes
you said 3:34.
yeah, exactly. And so, my fiance's stepdad said to me, he goes, "I don't understand how you guys are together." And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're up at the crack of dawn, and she likes to sleep in." And I said, "Well, that's her thing, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be my thing." But I do one thing for her every morning is I set up her coffee because I know that's what she likes to do every morning, and I always set it up. And when I'm away, it could be 3, 4, 5 days, and then I go, "I guess you're gonna have to fend for yourself." She goes, "Yeah, that's why I don't like it when you leave."
Oh, that's precious, and, I have to say, I'm actually the same way as my husband. My
Oh,
husband is
nice.
fast asleep right now. He is a night owl, and I am
Mm,
also an early riser, and I think that's one of the misconceptions is that compatibility doesn't mean you have to be the same. If you have the shared values, if you have the alignment and the commitment to grow together, that's how you create a beautiful relationship. It's not by dating yourself, because if I tried to date myself, I'm sure I would drive myself nuts. You
yeah.
know, you need the balance and polarity in the right ways, which it sounds like you've learned to navigate so beautifully.
Oh, you know what? When you look at another person and you look at them and you go, "I'm so fortunate. I'm so lucky that you chose me." But it's not just, several years ago, but you still choose me every day. I think that's a beautiful thing. Can I share this with you? I want to share this quick video. You followed the rules, tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today. That's it. Every day, start fresh.
Exactly.
One of the things that I recently read about is showering.
Hmm.
And the concept was showering to reset, right? If you're having a bad day, if you're having a bad moment, maybe just wash it away, right? Take a shower. And I know a lot of women go, well, I'm going to mess up my makeup. Well, just, shower lower. Just to reset. You don't have to mess up your makeup. And it was such an incredible idea and concept. So when we think about resetting, there's little things that we can do every single day that can reset. It can reset even our relationships, right? What would you say is a good tip for somebody to say, hey, maybe we're like this with each other. Why don't we walk away, reset, and come back into a loving relationship? What's a good tip for?
The reset that I always recommend is to, whether you keep a note on your phone, somewhere in your office where you can see it, is the words assume positive intent.
Mm,
And if you can operate from an assumption of positive intent that the person in front of you, the person you're maybe frustrated by, that they're not doing things
mm,
the way you would do them,
right,
is operating in their highest good for you, it will shift everything. And
mm,
the thing I always recommend as well is end each day with a gratitude practice with your partner,
mm,
not just with yourself, writing down things that, because I'm a big journaler and I love writing down my gratitude list. But the thing that we do in our relationship every single evening is we go through the list of everything the other person did for us, because it orients you to the positive, and telling them, thank you for making my coffee this morning. Thank you for, and go through the list, and then asking the other person, what is something I can acknowledge you for that maybe I missed?
mm,
Because so much of relationship frustration comes from feeling unseen or unheard.
yeah,
And the easiest way to make your partner feel seen is simply to ask them, what's something you did maybe that I didn't notice? What is
mm,
something I can thank you to express gratitude for?
yeah, yeah. I think one of those things is that we can also, for anybody who has children, is to your actions with your partner will help your children navigate when they have the right relationships. For example, my sons, we got divorced, right? And my sons would come to my house and always ask me, Dad, can I get something from the fridge? Can I get a drink? Can I? I'm like, of course, it's your house. Go ahead. But it didn't matter how many times I said it, they would always still ask. And it was that politeness that I don't want to step on your toes type of deal. And no matter how many times I said to them, I just open the refrigerator, take anything you like, they would still always be polite and say, Dad, is it okay if I take a drink? Is it okay if I have this? Is it okay? Or if we're out, even at a restaurant, they're looking at a menu and they go, Dad, is it okay if I order this? I'm like, let me ask you, do you want that? Well, yeah. I said, so order it.
Oh,
Didn't matter. They would always, even now, when I take my kids are one just turned 21 and the other one turned 20,
wow.
20 is 24. And he was in New York and I took him out with his fiance and a friend. And they're like, Dad, is it okay if I order this? I'm like, oh my goodness, just order it. But I think that they see how you treat another person,
Hmm.
and it kind of like what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
Well, they learn through osmosis. You can tell kids all day long that they should work out, but if you do not
Mm.
yourself, if you are not modeling the behavior,
Oh yeah.
it's going to be challenging to get people to model the behavior. Same thing
Mm,
with your partnership. The
mm,
only thing that we are responsible for at the end of the day is ourselves, and taking radical accountability for that. And if
mm,
we show up in the way we want our partner to show up, we're mirrors all the time. And you find that if you want your partner to start meditating, but you start meditating, it has a ripple effect. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that in couples. They'll say, oh, I want my partner to do this. I said, why don't you do this?
yeah.
Because I guarantee when you model the behavior, even for adults, you become the people around you. You take on the characteristics, the habits. If you're intentional, you take on only the good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why with my program, Sifu's Mind Body Method, it's not for an individual.
Exactly.
And I usually I'll say to them, because they want to do the program, I go, it's not just for you, you know. They're like, what do you mean? I said, I'm including your partner, your either wife, husband, and your kids. They for the one price, the whole family is included. They're like, really? It's not per person? I said, no. I said, because if I only do it for you, is there going to be a balance with your spouse or your partner? I want you both in the program, but I'm not going to charge you if you bring your spouse with you or your partner. I said, I want you both to benefit. So for me, it's about everyone benefiting, right? Including the kids, because I have a different program for the kids and they get it too. It's included. So when we think about doing things for one person, I think we have to consider the family dynamic.
Yes, absolutely. And the relationships around us. And it's also what helps create accountability in
Mhm.
anything, in any behavior. One of the core mantras that I have, especially in relationship, is courage is the key to peace.
Mm,
One courageous act at a time. So when you have the courage to bring up something that's bothering you, to express even how you're feeling, the love that you have for your partner can be scary.
mm,
And I think that that ripple effect happens and we start to model the behaviors of those around us. So I think that including the family, especially in the programs that you do, is so important because it only takes one person to shift a pattern, but to maintain a new pattern, a new dynamic, a new way of being requires all people involved.
oh yeah, absolutely. Melissa, oh my goodness, such great advice. Listen, I took notes, right?
I'm so honored.
So everybody do me a favor. Melissa, you have 45 seconds. Tell us what they can expect when they come to your website, which is going across the screen.
So if you'd like to connect with me on my website at melissananavati.com, also if that's difficult to type and spell, peakperformancelove.com will also take you there. That's the name of
Mm,
my upcoming book. And on my website, you'll find information, free tools, downloadable PDFs that you can start using today, as well as links to all the social. I'd love to connect with you if you heard this show on Instagram at Melissa Nanavati, on YouTube at Peak Performance Love. And please stay in touch. And I'm always here as a resource. Ultimately, my goal, as I like to describe myself, a relationship architect, is to give the framework and tools that high achievers need to build love that
mm.
supports their ambition.
Love it. It's also in the comments. Anybody, if you want to click on the comments, go for it. And Melissa, thank you. Thank you. You started our Friday on a positive note. Thank you. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate you. Everybody, do me a favor, share this episode with your friends, your family, and your loved ones. They may, they may need to hear it too.
It's been a true honor to join you on the show. I think the work you're doing in this world is so powerful, and definitely check out his mind body method. It'll change your life.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Melissa. I'm a huge fan, by the way. So, and hopefully everybody else becomes one too. Everybody take care. Have a beautiful day. We'll talk soon.